asshole.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Wednesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another show of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, I've got a couple of gems that we're going to show on the show this morning to kick things off.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, a couple of gems. First of all, great show today. We're going to have Mark Menendez on as part of our Elite Series week here on BTL. And really good feedback from yesterday's show on Jamie Hartman. And the dude definitely has a lot of buzz about this New York swing, man.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's going to be the favorite or one of the favorites.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably the favorite as far as experience on those fisheries. You could throw Seth Fider, Zaldane, potentially some of those Cliff Perch would fit in there in some of those northern fisheries. But as a whole, as far as knowing how to fish it, track record in BFLs and Elite Series and open competition, he is the man.
Yeah.
And we got him to open up a little bit yesterday, talking about drunk bull riding back in the day, talking about going to court,
really
all
good
sorts
stuff,
of good
man.
stuff. So, yeah, great interview from Jamie Hartman yesterday.
So check that out. All right, a couple of things to kick off the show. Last week, I hooked up with a buddy of mine that I have not been in the boat with for probably 15 years. It's been a long, long time. All right. Now, we met in this small town in, I'm just going to call it Oklahoma.
Okay.
I'm not going to say where it is geographically. I could say eastern Oklahoma.
Okay.
All right. But
For the sake of you don't want to give away the fishery.
I do not.
Okay.
At all. All right. So we met at an Atwoods. Do you know what an Atwoods is?
Absolutely.
I would think you would.
It's the farm and fleet of the South.
Yes, it is. All right. So we met at an Atwoods.
You ever been to the fishing selection in an Atwoods?
I have. Yes, I
was
have.
just in an Atwoods. They had the lure lock tackle boxes on sale for $5 with the sticky bottoms.
Oh, that's a bargain. That is a bargain for $5. Anyway, so we met at the Atwoods, and he surprised me. A very, very big surprise, because when he got out of his truck, what do you think he was wearing?
Can we say his first name?
Yeah.
Glenn. What was Glenn wearing?
Yeah.
Probably an old school Bass Zone hoodie hat, something or other.
Okay, check this out.
Oh, he was wearing the...
Check this out.
That's really what he was wearing. Oh my gosh, folks, if you are listening on iTunes or another podcast platform, that is Glenn. Good dude. I've known Glenn as long. I've known Glenn for as long. He's one of the first guys that I met here when you're hanging out. He has it was, I don't want to call it a sublimation because there was some stitching in
cloth.
it, but it was the first wick-away fabric cloth.
Yes.
And it's a quarter zip pullover. It is bright yellow with some like jagged white and black lines in it, and it says Team Bass Zone. His name is actually across his torso in a 45-degree angle, and then he's also got the purple, black, and yellow hat on. So he showed up in the old school Basso jersey and hat. That is really cool.
Is that not awesome? That's actually the jersey that he wore in the Federation Nation National Championship. He had the patches. Did you see he had the Federation patch
Yeah, I
on
did.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it was at Tulsa, I don't even remember what year that was. Long time ago. That was the jersey that he wore. And dude, back then, those were Mo Betta shirts. That's who did those shirts.
That was cutting edge.
Maury Tate. Do you remember that name? The country guy.
I thought he did a
Mo Betta.
You Are Not the Father talk show.
What?
I thought Maury.
No, that's Maury Povich. Jeez.
Oh.
All right. Mo Betta. That was the name of the shirts, and I got such a great chuckle out of that. Jumps out of the truck. Dude, I'm ready to go. Let's get after it. He's all jerseyed out. Old school jerseyed out. So it was a great, I can't tell you how much fun we had on the water that day. And like I said, it had been almost 15 years. I think
You said
15
he
years.
went through the story. Now, he and another Oklahoma angler, hadn't they been in a couple hairy situations in the
he
boat?
sunk a boat on Lake Eufaula.
Coming out of the chute? Where was
going into the chute?
Going into the chute.
From the no. It was down south.
Okay, that's
From
totally
the,
changed.
Yeah, down by Crowder somewhere.
Oh, well, yeah, look who he's fishing with. That guy doesn't.
Yeah.
He's never been past the chute in his life. He doesn't even know what's up there.
It wasn't. No, it
What's
wasn't in
over
the
there?
chute.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It just pissed. Way off topic. Eufaula is the perfect tournament lake. There needs to be a major tournament on Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma. Not recently. Not in the past 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hell of a picture, Mark.
Yeah, Jeff in Tennessee knows all about Maury Tate. Yeah, he made all those shirts for Garth Brooks and everything. Little bitty town down by Surreal. And it's not spelled how it sounds.
Wow.
In southwestern Oklahoma. So, Glenn, man, it was great to spend some time in the boat with you. And that was just an epic day. And we caught the snot out of him.
Very
dude.
nice. Now,
right.
now let me bring this up. So you see
Yes.
the BTL. Now I've had some talks. I want to get some viewer feedback on this. So I've never had a jersey, right? Only jersey I've ever had is the
you had
state team.
The Federation jersey.
The state
Or
team, the Bass Nation jerseys, but it's all the same, and you wear it for. Well, I'm fishing the Opens this year, and I've had two people that said, "Man, you better get a jersey for this so you can have the patch." Well, when I fishing before, I literally just used the sticky tape and stuck the patch on over the shirt. Do you think I'm to the point where I need a jersey or not? Because I've never had one. I don't explicitly have anybody that says, "Hey, you need to wear this jersey at the weigh-in."
Question?
What are your thoughts? Because I've had a couple people that have been anti-jersey that are like, "Man, you're fishing the Opens now. You've got some sponsorship. It's time that you buck it and buck the trend and go ahead and get the jersey like the rest of everybody else with the BTL in the middle of it." And I'm like, I don't
I have
think
no
so.
problem with you getting a jersey as long as you only wear it to fish.
Well, I wouldn't even wear it to fish. I would wear it at the weigh-in.
I don't care.
But who knows how the weigh-ins are going to go?
I'm not a jersey guy.
No, obviously neither am I. I've never had one.
I would
had one for
sport your own
OU.
look,
I fished
dude.
it at OU.
Jay is saying no jersey in all caps.
That's what it's kind of where I was going, but I've had this conversation with multiple people recently.
Yeah, I that's your call. Dude.
I got someone
my opinion
on YouTube saying "Jersey up, Hanger."
Yeah,
I don't know.
Patch it up there, bro.
I don't know. I think you then end up looking just like everybody else.
Patch it up. Just patch it up, man. All right. Item number 2. I received this email yesterday, and it is so unfortunate because there was no name on the email. Matt?
Okay.
No name. All right. Just has the guy's email address, and the subject line says, "Little guy coming for your job." So I was like, "Oh, I'm intrigued. What is this all about?" And then the text in the email says, "I guess I've been listening to the show on car rides too often. My 4-year-old is practicing to steal your job." So I was intrigued. So here's the video that was sent.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your hosts, Mark Jeffries, Matt Paywell. BTL coming at you. Good Wednesday, everybody.
And it happened to be Wednesday. How funny is that, man?
That's good. Do you
Dude's gonna
remember
come
when you
take my job,
you
man.
redid the site last year?
Yeah.
You were like, "What do you think of the intro and stuff?" And I said, "Dude, you got to keep the BTL coming at you into the intro."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you did. It's part of the deal now.
Yeah. So, many thanks to whoever sent that in. All right. Props to the kid. I wish I knew the kid's name. Might send him a little gift, man. That's good stuff right there. All right. In other news, big news happening fairly quick is they are going to announce where the Bassmaster Classic is going to be.
Oh, how'd you hear that?
Well, they're having that deal with Swindle and I forget the country western singer. And
where
all
is
that.
it? Wait. Bassmaster Live on the lake to feature casting, country music, and 2021 classic announcement.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday's Live on the Lake with Gerald Swindle.
Yeah. What's the date on that? Is that today?
May 27th.
That
That's
would be today.
From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay.
So at 9
right,
a.m.
basically after the show.
They're going to make the announcement. I don't know if they're going to make it at the
They'll
beginning of the show.
probably make them wait.
Where is your thought on where the 2021 Classic is going to be?
I think it's going to have a Lone Star feel to it.
I agree 100%.
And I think there's about 2 or 3 lakes in that Dallas area that would be ideal classic venues for early in the year. And I think your biggest obstacle there is going to be, will people show up? Because they did not show up for the TTBC the last time it was there when Matt Herron won it, and it was in like some weird soccer complex in the middle of Dallas and stuff. So it'll be very interesting.
They will show up because it's the Classic.
I agree to some
Now,
extent. There's a lot of stuff going on in Dallas, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be Chicago.
Well, here's where I'm going to
Bad,
deviate. I don't think it's going to be Dallas.
You think it'll be Fort Worth?
I think it's going to be Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. And then they have 3 or 4 lakes within an hour there.
And I think the lake is going to be Ray Roberts.
Okay.
Believe me, folks, all right.
Well, you got Possum Kingdom around there.
No, that's too far.
Too far?
Too far.
You
2
got
hours.
Texoma?
Too far.
Too far. Ray Roberts. Ray Roberts is probably your best bet.
Yeah, you could do Texoma.
Livingston?
Nah. No. And believe me, folks, I have no inside info. All right. Have I done a little homework? It's just in passing, I guess, would be the best thing. But I think it's headed for Fort Worth, and I think the lake is going to be Ray Roberts. And if I'm right, how about that?
There you go.
What do you think? You think that'd be a good Classic? Ray Roberts, decent lake.
Yes,
lots of fish in it.
I think it would be a good Classic, and it is time when Conroe.
No,
I'm just saying the Texas Classics. How do you think it'll be received as far as Conroe with Houston? You're talking the 2 major metropolitan areas in Texas, if it is indeed.
Well, I think the venue was
in that
horrible.
Dallas area.
The venue had its purpose. Horrible's not a good word.
The venue was at the ball
at the
field.
Houston Astros baseball field. Right, that swallowed up what was a pretty decent crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to jam 50,000 people in there.
Jerry's World. Could they pull that off? Could they pull it off at
Jerry would want too much money.
Stadium?
Jerry would want
maybe
way
Jerry's
too much
maybe
money.
some people have some ins with Jerry. You never know.
Cool. That would be cool, but I can't see it happen.
No, I'm not talking about having the whole stadium fill on that, but you have what if you took Jerry World and you combined just hear me out here on this. You combined the expo with the weigh-in on the field.
Yeah.
So it's big enough. The place is massive, right? So you had a little bit outdoors because I went to a Cowboys game. I know.
Yeah.
You have a little bit outdoors on the expo. You have some of the title sponsors right there, and then you have the stage in there too. So the weigh-in takes place at the expo. So then you don't have to worry about the people getting to and from and traveling
chaos.
it. It would
It's
be
chaos. No, I truly believe. Remember, Matthew, these communities have to write a big fat check,
cool. Right.
and I think that I think Fort Worth is the winner, man.
All right.
I really do. All right. I don't think it's going to be Florida. I don't think they're going obviously back to Alabama, Mississippi.
You just yeah. No, I
it's
agree.
kind of process of elimination.
I feel like if it was Oklahoma, we would have had some in. Originally, I thought that they think they might have looked at Oklahoma.
Where? Grand again?
Yeah. Grand, Eufaula, Texoma,
dude,
Fort Gibson.
Here's the deal with Oklahoma City. And it's so unfortunate that there is not a decent body of water to handle that type of competition.
Where would be the closest in Oklahoma City to get to 25,000 acre lake?
Man, I don't know. Eufaula, probably.
That's a 2.25 hour drive. That's a
what I'm saying.
2.5 hour drive.
There is not a lake that makes sense.
You're very centrally located, but you're too far away from everything.
Yeah, but the facilities that we have in Oklahoma City, ideal. Perfect. Hotels connecting, convention center, brand new. Do you see the new one that they're building that's going to be open next year?
And
Oh
OKC?
my gosh.
No.
So impressive. And it connects to the Ford Center or the Chesapeake. I keep calling it the Ford Center. It's not the Ford Center anymore. It's the Chesapeake, the Peak. But it's unfortunate that Oklahoma City does not have an area from a lake perspective that could host a Bassmaster Classic. What are you going to do? Put them on Arbuckle? No. What are the other options? There isn't any.
So wait a second. So Swindle's going to be on the lake in Alabama for Live on the Lake with a country music singer, Riley Green, who is going to sing the location. I don't know about that part. But
that's creative, man. They're getting creative. I wonder how many outdoor media outlets are going to pick up on that.
To Swindle and Green will be fishing on the 2020 Classic Waters, where Hank Cherry won, making it the perfect backdrop for Swindle to announce the next destination for the Super Bowl of professional bass fishing.
Yeah.
Where this guy's in the artists you need to know.
Okay. Well, I'm not the C&W fan, like a little bit of it. I can listen to some of it, but I'm not a connoisseur at all the up-and-comers.
I don't think they even call it C&W anymore.
They don't?
I think they just dropped the Western. I think there's more of a trend towards the
pop country?
Pop country, hip-hop country.
Yeah. Anyway.
Before we move on, I would like to notice that Big Bite sent me their new shirt.
Yeah, you're rocking it.
It is, and it's the kind it's like soft, so it feels good, and it makes you look more muscular. So if you want to check these out, so here's the deal. They sent 2 hats and a shirt, so I got the shirt. So I did not want to wear the hat today because I've never been one of the matching shirt and hat guys. Like, look.
Oh, you're representing now.
That looks like I'm trying way too hard. Does it not, Mark?
You might as well have a jersey, dude.
It looks like you're trying way too hard with the hat and the shirt on.
Yeah.
So I brought the hat.
You're representing.
And I'm wearing the shirt. If you want to check them out, they even made a link for us. It's super easy. bigbitebaits.com/BTL. So they have a bundle there. So I will be, in the next week, giving away one of these fitted hats.
You said next week?
It's this week or next week. It depends on when I come up with a good trivia question or when it makes sense. I'm not going to force a giveaway not having prepared for what the giveaway question is going to be, right?
Okay, I get it.
But we will be giving away one of these hats. But if you want, you can go check them out.
That's a cool hat.
It's the shameless plug of the show. We'll be back with Mark Menendez.
I like how you just kind of threw that in there, man. That's nice. By the way, Chase in Oklahoma says Tulsa over OKC all day. The little smiley face. Dude, I got to tell you, I don't think you've seen what is being done in the downtown Oklahoma City area. It's unbelievable, man. This new convention area is major impressive.
Like Jared pointed out, though, on the YouTube, have you been to Texas Live? Down there by the Rangers ballpark.
No.
God, I hope everything's back to normal in a year.
Yeah.
Because that, if indeed it is that area,
Yeah.
I mean, there will be a good time had by all.
All right, there you have it. We'll see. My prediction, Fort Worth. Yours is Dallas, all right?
Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Hey, you can't go there. It's two separate areas, man.
I agree with you. I think Fort Worth would be more likely to embrace it than Dallas would. Dallas has so much stuff going on in Dallas. Fort Worth, get everyone out. You can get it into a location. Highlight that, the lake that's in that area.
Brand new arena there in Fort Worth. So, all right. We're going to come back with Mark Menendez. Everybody stay tuned right here on a Wednesday.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, live sight transducer, or Structure Scan 3D, and get up to $500 cash back.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Luz doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
All right, we are back, and it is time to bring in our special guest as our Elite Series week continues here on BTL.
Browsing the Bassmaster website, I haven't browsed it enough recently. Did you see they have a gear review on a carbon fiber net?
No.
$150 for this carbon fiber net.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mark when he comes on the show. We were talking about this over the weekend. Why hasn't any tackle company, and they might have because I'm not in the know, why hasn't a tackle company come out with a tungsten hook for like a fluke or
like a weight, a tungsten weight?
A tungsten built hook that has mass to it.
Wait, so the actual hook is tungsten?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's possible with as hard as tungsten is.
You can't sharpen tungsten?
I don't think that's possible. I just think with the material.
What, do we need to get the guys that build the knives and stuff to make tungsten hooks? I bet they could do it.
Well, why can't you just, you could make a hook that was tungsten weight attached to it.
I know, but listen to the theory behind this.
It adds the weight without
having to put a weight on.
Yeah. I'm sure we
Has
need
anybody
to get
ever thought about that?
someone that's smart enough that understands
Maybe Mark knows
the
that.
properties of tungsten. Mark knows about Asian carp. That's what Mark knows about Asian carp and catching big bass. That's his
Now,
two.
All right, I agree with Andy. Andy's saying tungsten is brittle, but dude, it's a hook.
I
It's
think
not that
you're
brittle.
stretching on that.
Have you? So you've never thought about that? man?
Never thought about that.
Huh? When I was throwing a fluke, I thought about it.
Now you get tungsten weights that you attach to your hook,
Yeah.
but no, never even
Okay.
considered. I think it is way too brittle. I don't think you could ever get it that sharp.
I mean, I use tungsten weights when I
And here's the
Carolina
other
rig,
thing. Think
and
about how expensive tungsten is,
honestly, I think that is a scam. I'm sorry. I think that the commodity price on tungsten.
You think there's like a tungsten mafia
No,
that people
I
are
didn't
over
say
there with
that.
just swimming
No.
pools full of tungsten and it's actually the price of a water gremlin from Walmart and they're
not what
just
I'm
like,
saying.
oh, look at this, like
Dude, I'm just
hoarding
saying
the
that
tungsten fields.
There is something bizarre about the price of tungsten.
Is tungsten like in the periodic table?
Do what now?
Is tungsten in the periodic table, or is it a
Dude, I have no
manufactured?
No
is it a
idea.
manufactured metal or element?
Well, somebody just said
like, do they mine? Like, how is tungsten?
it's powdered pressed? Is what somebody said.
So
I don't
tungsten
know.
is made. It's not like you mine tungsten, like gold or something.
I
like
don't
that.
think so.
And then you polish it and cut it. Like, how is?
I don't think. Dude, I come up with some crazy stuff, but when I was throwing that fluke, that's what I thought of.
I wonder if Mark knows where tungsten comes from.
I don't know. Let me
I
see.
guarantee he's never been brought into an interview on that before.
You don't think so?
No, but I mean, he's with some companies that have some tungsten weights.
Yeah. All right, let's bring him in. Mark, you there, man? Oh, let's see here.
No, he just brought in the music.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now we
Mark,
got
you
him.
there, man?
Yeah, hey guys, how are you all?
Doing great, man.
Where's tungsten come from?
I tell you what, why don't you all get you some tungsten rings? Because you all sound like you're a married couple. Dang,
Well, that's
guys.
how we roll.
Where
man.
does tungsten come from? Do you have any idea?
All right, the first process with the hook, I was listening in.
Yeah.
The problem is temper. When wire is tempered, it has the ability to bend and flex. And there'll be no temper in tungsten because it is a mixed element of different things that is compressed, and the cost is the heating. It's very expensive to heat that to get it into a form that can be molded. So there's your problem right there. It is a powder that gets heated and compressed, and that takes a long time to do that. So there's where your cost in tungsten comes
Okay.
from, Mark.
All right. I'm glad somebody explained that then. Stupid
But
idea.
it's a good idea. You're thinking out of the box.
So
It's a good
but there's no
idea.
such thing as just like a natural. You won't be like digging in the backyard and come across just a hunk of tungsten.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Oh, well, Mark, hey, man, we appreciate you taking time out. You're finally going to get back to the game here shortly. What have you been doing over the break, man?
Well, my boat, when I left the Classic, had 28 hours on it, and it still has 28 hours on it. I haven't been fishing. I've left fishing alone. I farm pond fish with my son a little bit, but I've been doing a lot of honeydews. Yesterday, I took a 16-hour trip to get Melissa's daughter moved. She's finished up nursing school, going to be a nurse in Louisville, Kentucky. So we went to the University of Kentucky and got all of her stuff, moved her to Louisville, and came home, and it was a 16-hour trip. So right now, I'm beat, guys, to be honest with you. But that's about what I've been doing. I've been spending time with my kids at home, and that's about it. Really taking after 30 years of bass fishing, it was good for me to take a break. So I'll get real excited here in the next week and get ready for you follow.
All right, 30 years into it, we had Jamie Hartman on yesterday. I made the point that this might be the most physically demanding swing in the history of the Elite Series. Do you agree with that, or am I way off base?
No, dude, I'm with you. I have been walking and exercising and doing yoga just to get back in the swing of things. Doggone, 3 weeks straight is going to be tough. It's going to be tough in New York. It's going to be great fishing. The fishing's going to be off the hook. So I'm excited about that. And going up there on that New York swing is going to be great. But the other thing, Mark, I'm excited about some October, November stuff.
Yeah.
That's new. That's new on the Elite Series. We did that on the Opens for years. And, those are going to be cruddy fish catching tournaments, but you're going to have to take every technique you're going to have to take every ounce of concentration to grind you out 5 or 6 or 8 bites a day that get you 9, 10, or 12 pounds to do well in some of these. I'm excited about that because we haven't had to do that in a while.
All right, Matt, one more question. Having said that, you have a ton of experience on Santee Cooper. What's Santee Cooper going to be like when you guys aren't there when the spawn's going on?
Oh, man, it's just that lake is so big and they have so many places they can go. There's standing timber offshore. There's a little bit of structure out there as far as the bottom contour. It's just so big that it scatters them out in the fall. That one's going to be a grinder of all grinders. I fished one there, a Southern Open in 2009. And I finished in the top 40 with 13 pounds and caught a limit both days. And was thrilled to be in the money. I think 34 or 5 or 6 pounds won that event, and that was just a matter of getting a decent bite 1 or 2 days to get there. So that one's going to be a tough tournament.
Do you feel like the grinders, and Jeffries will like this question because it has to do with luck versus skill. So you get down there, you go to the grinders, you said the big ones are hard to find. Do you feel like the grinding tournaments favor guys who get lucky bites, or more the skill side of it? I'm saying you're going to a lot of places in New York where limits probably aren't going to be an issue for the majority of it. But those really tough ones, do you think the guys who win and are at the top get a couple lucky big bites, or are mentally strong enough to grind it and put themselves in the position to put it in front of a couple big ones and take the luck element out?
I think it's your second scenario, Matt. Grinding and finding those 5 are the skill factor. And then if you pull up, you found a school of pound and a halfers and you throw in there and catch a 5, you're going to take that luck any day. But I think it's grinding and figuring out a pattern with a little crankbait. It's junk fishing 101, but if you can find something that becomes consistent to get your 5, then you can spend the rest of the day with a jig or a big spinnerbait or a big topwater to focus on that 1 5-pound bite. That's the guy that wins. It becomes an area deal as much as anything else in those events.
In 30 years, if you had to pick one tournament, and I mean, I'm not talking about going to a crappy fishery where the fish just didn't exist. I'm talking about a true grinder tournament where you all knew that they were in there and that they were going to be hard as heck to catch. If you had to pick one tournament over your career where you say that was the grind.
Well, I tell you what the grind was when I came back in 2005 for being sick at West Point. That was a grinder deal. That is a grinder lake. And I happened upon the fact that the fish turned and went shallow in the 1st of June, this time of year. They turned around and went back to the bank because the moon was full and the water came up about 3 or 4 inches. And I went shallower and shallower in the tournament, Matt. And while the rest of the field backed up, as you typically would in June, and it opened up waters to me that allowed me to figure out how to catch those 5 and get a big bite or 2 a day. So I won that event I only had 36 pounds, but I won it by 7 pounds. And that was because I figured that out during the event. And, oh man, it was incredible. But that was a grinder of a grinder event for me.
One more question on it, then we'll move on. In the tough tournaments like that, have you found, and this is for the weekend angler, that it's often more beneficial to go obvious or to look for one of those weird, off-the-wall, obscure patterns?
That's a great question. I'm going to go obvious to ensure that I catch 5 because that's my job. I've got to catch 5 and let the chips fall with 5. And then if I can find something obscure, most of the time the obscurity is cover finding a lay down log that sits off the bank a little further, finding a big rock that sits next to a boat dock, whatever it may be. Those are the obscures, and that's where my better fish come from. So obvious to me to get the 5 and then go obscure, because you're really rolling the dice if you're only fishing the obscure, because you could end up with a 0 just as easy as you could 5 great big ones, probably easier.
All right, Mark, kind of a long question, but I really want to know the answer to this. New York Swing during practice, you guys are going to catch a ton of fish. All right, are you hooking and looking at every single fish during practice to get a good idea? Oh no, there's nothing but, pound and a halfers, 2-pounders over here. I need to find a bigger pattern. So you have that scenario. Now let's go the Santee Cooper route, where it's going to be a grind. And during practice, are you going to connect with every bite that you have? What are your responses?
New York, you have the luxury because there are so many fish there. You can catch a few more of them to establish your size. So I'm not as worried about that. At Santee, all I want to do is seam. I won't have a hook on at Santee, not a single one. I don't want to catch them at Santee. Because, in the fall there, if you can find a place that you can catch 5, they're probably going to be little peanuts. But if you fool around and get around in a backwater and you figure out an area where you're getting 1 or 2 of those big bites a day, there's only 1 or 2 of those living back there. So Santee will be a hookless practice where I'm not as concerned about it in New York.
Is that a good rule for the weekend guy to follow? Because, a lot of weekend guys, that month of September and October can be brutal all across the country, and so many championships from the local perspective take place during those months. Is that a good rule to follow?
It is, and what you have to be confident and cognizant of is the type of bite you're getting. If you're throwing a big sexy dog out there and one smashes it and he doesn't get it with any hooks, without hooks on it, you see that it's a 5-pounder. Okay, so it's a different contrast with a jig or a soft plastic under a boat dock or pitching and flipping. You've got to learn what that bite feels like without setting the hook. So what I would do, I'd go to a farm pond and pitch it out there with a rage crawl or whatever you're pitching and let them swim around with it, then set the hook and guess to see if is that a 1.5 pound or is that a 6-pounder. So I would practice that. It's hard. Matt, it's hard. When one bites that deal and you feel him swimming off, that brain triggers jack that one. And if you can, a lot of times if you'll just lift on them, they'll come right on up a little bit, and then you can get a good view of them and see if that was a 3, 4, 5-pound fish. Don't bust them in the fall. Don't bust them in that. Costs you money when you bust them in the fall.
So quick story. A couple years ago, we were at the Sabine River, and I was doing that where we follow a guy through the tournament from practice, and you got the last day of practice, and I was out with Skylar Hamilton, the Sabine River, and he gets in these areas, and he doesn't have the hook on, and he starts shaking, just don't. Oh, that feels good. He shakes it off. Don't. That feels good. He shakes it off. He goes, I better make sure that these aren't all mudfish. So he puts a hook on, don't, 2 1/4 pounder, and he's like, yeah, baby. So he shakes off about 10 more, goes to some other, shakes off. He comes to me after the first day of the tournament, and he's like, guess what, dude? I set the hook on the only bass in that entire one. He goes, I went back on every single stump and got every single bite, and they were all mudfish. He goes, the one time that I checked it happened to be the bass with you. He goes, I caught a 23-pound limit of mudfish, and he came in with like 9 pounds. That
Jeez.
Shook off all the grinnell.
Jeez. All right, Mark. You mentioned, I hear the excitement about fishing in the fall. Bass is going to make the announcement today where the Bassmaster Classic is going to be in 2021. Do you think we will ever get to the point where the Classic rotates around in different seasons, and would you like to see that happen?
I would like to see that happen. I sure would. Logistically, that would create a lot of havoc for bass. We know that. So it may or may not happen. There's so many things in the background that bass has to do to get us to a place, to get us there on time, to do all we have all these other events going on in the world that are scheduled on top of that. So we have to take our slots when we can. I would love to see it go back to the fall. It truly was the test of the best then, in some very difficult fishing conditions. Love to see it go back to the summer so that we would get away from some of these early pre-spawn patterns and get back to some summer fishing so that we can see the broad range of what's going on in bass fishing, and not only when the Elite Series and bass has tournaments. I think a summer tournament might have better participation with fans and younger fans. Let's recruit these young kids. We're doing great with high school and college fishing. Let's get more kids come and see the sports event, the sports show, and see the actual event and get them excited about it. I think that would be a great plus for it. But the logistics of it are the nightmare. But I would love to see it move around some.
All right. So many times we see a number of tournaments take place during the spawn or pre-spawn. What I want to know is, do you think experience and skill, more importantly, the skill level, really kind of shines after the spawn takes place in tournaments? And in other words, we see so many young kids that can go out and they can dominate pre-spawn and spawn, but then sometimes the kids that have success, the younger pros that have success during the spawn and pre-spawn, somewhat struggle after that season is over. Do you think there's more skill and experience is more important to be successful after the spawn?
I definitely do, Mark. And what happens in the pre-spawn, your patterns are very solid and they last a duration of time. They may last, you may catch them on a Red Strike King Series 3 for a month, and then that pattern not change, and then you catch them for another 2 or 3 weeks on a chili red lipless crankbait, a red-eyed shad. So after they spawn, you've got fish that are filtering out at a slow rate, and then you've got fish that are coming in. So you have this mix. And then as soon as that big female spawns, she's going to go take a break. She's going to go on hiatus. She's going to suspend somewhere, whether that's in the top of a big laydown tree, under a boat dock, down a shady bank, whatever that is. She's lethargic and doesn't really want to eat. So in that 5 to 8 to 10 day period, that's when that experience of having been in that situation really helps, because we know where she's going after she gets a bite to eat and she starts feeling better. She's headed offshore most likely. That's when I really like it, because I can pick up a plug and do what I love to do the most, and that's catch them on structure offshore. Yeah. So that interim period is a real mix. It's never a constant, and it's never the same twice during a 2, 3, 4 day period on how you have to make that presentation to fish. So that puts so many more variables to the angler.
You mentioned throwing a plug and stuff. One of the things I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about today was designing some colors. I know, like in the 1.5 and Strike King, you have, and I feel like this is fairly recent because I've seen it on social media, like the Pineapple Smash, the Moongill, Copper Nose Shad, Caramel Apple Shiner. I'm assuming the stays for Mark Menendez.
It might.
Okay, good, because I would have really sucked for this question if it didn't. Talk a little bit about, dude, crankbaits have been out there. You've got all these colors. How do you come up with new colors of crankbaits? How do you get it right? How do you know, like, I need this color that doesn't exist and that it's the right color for it? It just seems like it's so hard to come up with new colors in an era where, like, every color in the palette has already been explored.
It really is, Matt, and it comes down to basic confidence. You've got to get some confidence in the lure itself. That's the easiest thing to do. And then color becomes subjective to geography most of the time. Like the Smash, that's a Coosa River special. That is a color that spotted bass tend to like. Anywhere you've got spotted bass and smallmouth, man, you catch the heck out of them on bright colors. So that was a mix there. The Moongill is one that, they just eat it in clean water. So I've played with colors myself. I sit down and I actually will draw some out. I'll steal my daughter Caroline's art pencils and make me a shape of a plug and kind of plug that out and color that out and make it look good. And then I have a guy that understands color really well, and that's Mike Russell from Bag 5 Baits. I've worked with him on color for 20 years now. He knows what I want. He knows how I want it blended, and he does a lot of the color work at Strike King. Some of the new stuff that you've seen there, that's a lot of Mike's original thought there. So it's a long. I don't have the ability to take an airbrush, Matt, and do it myself. I just don't. I don't have time to, and I don't have the ability. So to have somebody to translate that to helps a bunch. But Mike is he's so good, and he just understands how to blend those colors to get the sheens. And one of the things about a plug, Matt, that is really important to me is the pulse. When that plug is wiggling and it's moving back and forth, a lot of times I really don't care about the color as long as I have a dark color to a light color and that contrast shades over. And when it's wobbling like this or it's rolling side to side, as you can see that pulse in my hand, that pulse is more important to me than the actual color is in most cases.
Okay, so percentage of time, in your opinion, then you're on the Coosa River, you're on a square bill bite, you make the perfect cast with the MM Smash and an MM Copper nose. Do you believe that if you bring it past what percentage? I mean, are you going to trigger that fish more often with the Smash than you are the Copper nose, or do you think there are actual times where? I'm saying you're making the same cast with two drastically different colors. Right. There are times where the color will trigger and times where it won't matter, is what you're saying, kind of?
Well, I can relate that back to an elite tournament that we had at West Point years ago, where I was in the back end of a bay. I had a channel swing and one slick log, and I caught a good one in there in practice. So I pull up to it, and doggone it, I threw 40 casts at this log. It had one arm that stuck off to the side. I threw 40 casts with a chartreuse and black square bill, nothing special. I caught a 4-pounder on that 40th cast. I sat down, I ate a sandwich because that was a really nice fish that gave me a good limit. Picked up a gizzard shad, which is a black and white, and I made 40 more casts and left with another 4-pounder.
Wow.
So I ended up with about 15 and a half pounds that day because I was so persistent. It was the right piece of cover. Now, changing the color combination was almost as important as making multiple casts. Because a lot of times, Matt, when you're in a big laydown, that bass is underneath that laydown. And you almost have to play like you're playing with a kitty cat to move that fish. Multiple casts moves that fish from this point under the tree to where he becomes catchable because of the pure persistence and his curious nature will move that. And that's an experience thing. And a lot of times I've made a lot of casts at one piece of cover and come away with nothing after I've made 40 casts at a tree. But there's a lot of times that when I was successful, like Santee's going to be one of those deals. There's 10 million darn cypress trees, but if I see one that's a little deeper or a little shallower or whatever, I'm going to make multiple presentations with that bait to get that fish to bite because he may not be in a position where he's aggressive on that first cast. So, but sometimes it is that color change, going from the chartreuse to the black to the white and vice versa. It's all just a big stirring pot, kettle cooking of trial and error, and sometimes you figure that out. And when you do, you get one of those blue trophies.
Wow. All right. Selfish question, Matt. A number of years ago, Mark, you were with another company from a lure perspective, and you had some signature series jerkbaits that are off the charts, in my opinion. I'm really curious when you make that switch, because this was quite some time ago. And I know from talking to you many, many years ago that you told me you spent a lot of time designing and really trying to put everything, all of your knowledge in these jerkbaits. Even though Strike King has great stuff and everything, I'm curious, do you still have a couple of those jerkbaits sitting around your tackle room?
I do. I've got the full collection of all of those. That was a signature series deal, and I was honored that they wanted to put my name on the bait. Yeah. All my buddies that asked me about them, I say, well, if you'll scratch that name off there, they'll bite it a hell of a lot better. I did, and I had a line of crankbaits as well, and those crankbaits were my 100% my own colors, and they did well from that perspective too. I do have them. There's a couple of those. What's funny, Mark, is when you get baits that are mass produced, sometimes you find this one.
Yeah.
Just this one that seems to catch bass better than the other. It may be in my head, but I have several of those that caught a heck of a lot of fish in past that are still in those boxes, those jerkbait boxes.
Yeah.
So I've got one purple and chartreuse one that dog hunts, and it only comes out when it's a tournament. So,
Well,
yeah,
I remember, and I don't know what event it was or what show it was, but you were absolutely smashing them. I think it was Pickwick on a jerkbait, and everybody else was struggling, and you were throwing one of your signature series jerkbaits. This is years ago. Do you remember what lake that was? Was it Pickwick? Was that right?
Pickwick and Wilson. I was up on Wilson.
Yeah.
And, the whole thing in that tournament was how slow I was fishing, Mark. The water was marginal for a jerkbait clarity. So if you made your cadence, your jerk pause too fast, you fished right past them. They couldn't see it unless it went right by their nose, and they need to be able to see it and find it. So I had about a 15-second pause going between the jerks, and that's why other guys in the area were fishing jerkbaits. That's why I caught a few more than they did, because I was fishing so slow.
Yeah. Man, you caught some great fish. That was a great tournament.
I watched that again the other day.
Did you really?
So, yeah, I've spent a lot of time going back on YouTube and looking at those old Bassmaster deals and just enjoying seeing some of the guys that have already passed away, some of the guys that I don't fish with anymore. It was really neat to spark some of those memories on COVID-19 where I was so depressed I couldn't even go outside. It was kind of neat. So I looked at a lot of all that old footage the other day.
All right, very cool. Here's what we're going to do, Mark. We're going to take a break, come back with some questions from the fans on the instant feedback. So just hold tight. We'll be back in a few minutes with Mark Menendez.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a great for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, you know, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back with our special guest today, Mark Menendez, and we are really, really close to tournament fishing, and we're gonna get to some questions on the instant feedback now, and I want to kick things off. Kyle wants to know, Mark, what is your biggest bass on Kentucky Lake, and how did you catch it?
Kyle, my biggest bass on Kentucky Lake came in a flurry. I was ledge fishing in early June. We used to have milfoil in the lake. I found some milfoil in about 11 feet of water on the end of a point. Trying to wind a plug through it, I couldn't. I picked up a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait. I caught a 9 1/4, which is the biggest bass I ever landed on Kentucky Lake that I weighed. And then in the next 6 casts, caught 6 that weighed 6 pounds apiece. So in 7 casts, I just blistered them on a big spinnerbait out there on the end of a ledge.
Wow. 1 ounce?
It was probably a 3/4.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Brett wants to know, why do you think people struggle in the fall?
Well, it's an interesting thing that happens. You get your lake, it all bases on the shad. There's certain lakes in which the shad will migrate like they're supposed to, like the book says, up to the back of the creek. There's lakes like Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lakes, the Tennessee River, that are lowland reservoirs in which when they pull the summer pool down, you've got miles and miles and miles of water in that 2 to 5 feet. And those shad don't necessarily have to move to the back of the creek. So there's a good population of shad in the main lake, and not all the bass make that migration either. So you get this stratification of fish location in many different places, and it just spreads the fish out in the fall because the bait spread out.
All right, Joe in Tennessee wants to know, Tennessee just put 300,000 Florida strain bass in Kentucky Lake and is going to continue doing that for the next 3 years. Is Kentucky going to do any restocking?
Kentucky most likely won't. What Kentucky is doing right now is they're working on habitat. They're working, they got a couple of big grants the Fish and Wildlife Department here did, and I talked to the kid that's in charge of that the other day, and they're building spawning platforms in 4.5 to 5 feet of water, and they're putting in brush, and they're not marking it. So they're building habitat to enhance what's going on Kentucky Lake. Kentucky Lake has done well, Mark, here in the last little bit. You cannot understand how many 14 to 15 fish are in the lake right now. All three. I'm seeing a resurgence of spotted bass back in the lake like we used to have back in the late 80s, like 70s and 80s. I'm talking about 3 1/4, 3.5 pound spotted bass. So they're on the rise. The smallmouth didn't seem to get hurt as bad with the issues that we had, and the largemouth are doing really well. So with habitat enhancement on the Kentucky end of it, it's going to help recruit those fish into bigger sizes. And I'm thrilled that Tennessee is doing this. They did this several years ago with the Floridas, and man, they grew some big bass down there on the Tennessee side of the Kentucky Lake side of things. So it's all a cumulative effort, and hashtag Kentucky Lake is not dead for sure. We're doing well here.
All right. That kind of ties in. Several people wanted to know an update on the whole carp situation. Can you elaborate any more on what's going on?
Hey, we got a big piggy bank here now. We got another $35 million from federal money coming. So we have made some noise, and we have done really well with what we've done. We exterminated, or extracted, should I say, over 6 million pounds that went through the processors. last year. We're scheduled to get over 8 million pounds. I'm not seeing them in numbers up there like I was. All of my friends that have been fishing a lot are saying, I'm not seeing them as much. They're still there. So what we had was a great spawn about 3 years ago to grow these 15-inch fish that we have now. The shad have come back, and that's what is so important about this. We lost our numbers of threadfin and gizzard shad, and I can see them everywhere looking out there on live scope while I'm fishing, looking at my depth finder. And it's really cool to see clouds of shad again in the lake. So I think it's accumulation of a lot of effort. It's a cumulative aspect to getting some removed and making more room in the lake. So we're chipping away at it, guys, and I think we're on the right path for now.
All right, very nice. Blake in Georgia wants to know, is your game plan going to change at all for the Eufaula event because the Toyota Series is on Eufaula during the prior week?
Well, it is. We're going to have some pressured areas. There's going to be some areas that get discovered and be a lot of fish caught in certain areas. And, Eufaula is a unique lake. There are some distinctive structural elements in Eufaula that get a lot of attention. So I'm probably, fishing offshore is how I grew up fishing. And I really love to fish that way. I feel like it gives me an added advantage that some people may not have. So, doggone it, there's going to be a lot of spinning rod fishing out there offshore, which I really don't care how I do it, but I'm gonna look at some finesse techniques, and you never know. You may be able to fire them up with a 6XD, 8XD, 10XD, whatever it may be, but you're going to have a 1-2 punch, that's for sure.
All right, Justin in South Carolina wants to know, what's your favorite part or area of Santee Cooper?
Ooh, that's hard. I just like Santee Cooper. It's such a great place to fish. It's so big. You have to play weather into it. You got to look at the weather forecast. If you've got wind, you've got to find a hidey hole to get in. If you can get out on that lower lake, boy, that can be fun too. That's a hard question. I like that upper side, the northern side of the lower lake, especially in that spawning time period, because I've caught so darn many big ones, and you see so many big ones. That's cool. And then if you want to go back in time, you can go up in the swamps and fish too. So just a lot of avenues.
Hey,
Littlefoot in there.
Yeah. All right. I'm curious on this one, Mark. Is there a body of water? Is there a lake that the Elite Series has not went to for a number of years, or maybe the Elite Series hasn't went there at all, that they should look at putting on the schedule for 2021? And forget about all the logistics and the checks that have to be written and all that and everything. Where is there a body of water that the Elite Series needs to go in 2021?
Well, we went in 2018, and I was thrilled when we went there. I think it's the best tournament fishing lake. It's not the best catching lake for numbers, but it fishes more to strategy than any lake that I fished in my lifetime, and I'm very fond of this place. That's Lake Martin, Alabama. That's the best strategic tournament lake in the country because you don't catch many big ones, and you can figure out a pattern, whether it's pea gravel to mud or mud to sand or whatever the little intricacy is, and you can run it all over the lake and catch them. It's the best pattern lake in the country in the spring and fall. Now, it's a tough fishery in the summer because it's clean, it's clear, and it's night fishing and all that. But a fall tournament there would be wonderful. We had them there years ago, 93, 94, and several opens in the 90s there. And they were all great fish catching events. But the guy that figured out how to catch 2 1/4 pounders instead of 2 pounders won the event. And it was an exciting event. That's my favorite place in the world to fish.
That's a great answer. I like that. Very cool. All right. Seth in North Carolina wants to know, do you ever modify your crankbaits in some way to get them to dive deeper? Example, upsizing hooks, drilling holes, etc.
Oh, I'm guilty of doing all of that, Seth. I've drilled them. I've put bigger hooks on them. The way I modify a crankbait more often than not is through line size. changing my line size, either smaller to make the bait dive deeper or bigger to make the bait stay higher in the water column. But I've done just about everything. I've even put feathered tails on crankbaits at times. So I play with that a lot. I don't suspend them as much as I used to. I just have gotten away from that for some reason. But I've bigger hooks, bigger line, whatever else. I use a Sharpie a lot on a crankbait to modify one on the fly too. So I do play with it a lot.
When are you going to put a feather on your crankbait?
That's a kind of a post-spawny thing when they're a little bit
right now.
Yeah, about right now, I'll do that. And then in the late fall, when I'm fishing around scads and scads of shad in the back end of the creek, you're throwing a 1.5 square bill. I got to make that damn thing look different.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got 10 million bait fish back there, Matt. How do you make it look different? And that's one of the things you can do.
It's funny you say that because there's a guy that has fished Grand Lake for years. He doesn't fish anymore. In fact, I think he passed away. But one of the things that he used to do in the summer, Mark, was he would glue feathers on the top of his crankbait.
Huh.
Have you ever heard of that or seen that?
Never.
Whoa.
He would glue. He would
take a chicken feather and give it a mohawk.
Not a big feather.
No,
like that,
I know that. But give it a mohawk. Basically?
No. Because think about how a crankbait goes through the water like this, right? So what he would do is he would put the feathers on the top rear portion of the crankbait to where they wouldn't come in contact with the hook, but it would give him a dead look.
That wouldn't affect the action?
No, because they were so light. He didn't put.
So they were obviously on a visual bite then, because it wouldn't affect the lateral line or vibration or reaction bite.
But it was a different
visually
look.
Chasing the shad then.
Different look, and that just stuck into my brain when you said feather.
Did he catch him on it?
Oh yeah, dude, he was a freaking legend up there.
You think he would have caught him without it?
I don't know. I have no idea, but that was
you buying
his
this, Mark?
tinkering. That was his
It's
tinkering.
no different than putting a ribbon tail on the back of a spinnerbait. It's the same thing. It just changes the profile.
Yeah. That seems like a lot of work.
But if it would be a lot of work, Matt. But think about it. If you had the confidence in that, how much harder are you going to make that crankbait work, thinking you're going to get the next bite?
Coming out next,
that's all
the
it's about.
1.5 half plucked. There you go. There's the name of it right there.
See, we're talking all kinds of stuff here, man. Tungsten hooks, feathers on crankbaits.
The half plucked 1.5 featuring tungsten treble hooks.
But a mohawk. I like the mohawk idea, though, Matt. That's not bad.
You're going to have to throw it on lead core.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, get it 2 feet deep.
All right. Here's an interesting question. Ryan wants to know, do you think we'll ever see an Elite Series night tournament where it wraps up, like, say, at 9 o'clock at night?
It counts for points.
Yeah.
I don't think we will, just due to liability. And everything becomes a little more difficult to navigate at night, and I think that puts the anglers and the marshals at risk. So I don't think you'll see that.
All right. Joe wants to know, can you talk about the bubbler? Do you know anything about that on the Cumberland River below Barkley?
Oh yeah. The BAF, the bioacoustic fish fence.
Yeah.
That was installed in November. All the chiefs of staff came and we had a big ceremony on that. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of data because we've had high water below the dam on Kentucky and Barkley Lakes since November, basically, guys. And it has been so high and so much water moving there that we're not able, we're tracking fish. We have fish in there that have transmitters in them, and we're tracking their movements. So the water level has been so high, and it's just now starting to come down, that we have not been effective enough in getting enough data to see how much movement has been going on with those fish that we have with transmitters. That data will be forthcoming as we spend a little more time. We're very hopeful on that project with the bioacoustic fish fence. That has shown a lot of promise in a lot of other areas with other species of fish. So we're very, very hopeful that becomes the gatekeeper, so to speak, on Barkley Dam, and we're hoping to have 2 of those placed on Kentucky Dam when we finish our new lock on Kentucky Dam as well.
All right. Very cool. Matt in Minnesota, any guess on where you think the Classic's going to be?
I'm thinking it's a Texas classic. I've heard rumors on that. So there's so many great lakes in Texas. There's so many great fishing fans in Texas. I'm kind of holding back on exactly where. I'd love to go back to Richland Chambers, where I caught the biggest bass that's ever been caught in an Elite Series level event. That would be a cool place because that would be a very tough grind of a tournament because it's a low population lake right now, but there's a lot of big ones in it, and it's close enough to a metroplex of Dallas that we could do that. O.H. Ivy would be a good one. That's a lake I've heard of for years. Be a long way away. I don't know if the facilities exist where we could have a classic. Hey, Texhoma's even in the mix if it's in that metroplex area. I wouldn't mind that one bit. So I think it's a Texas event.
All right, I agree with you. All right, I threw Ray Roberts out there. Is another one.
Ooh, giddy up.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Burger in Alabama wants to know: have you ever tried eating Asian carp?
Yes, I sure have. I've eaten it about 3 different ways. I've eaten it deep fried as you would bluegill, crappie, or bass. I've eaten it that way. It's fine. I've eaten it in a fish ball that was a deep fried. The most unique way I've eaten it, Mark, was at a high-end restaurant here in Paducah. And the lady was on that cooking show, that cooking contest that owns the restaurant on television. And she served it in a caper sauce, baked in a caper sauce, and it was absolutely delightful. So the only negative about it, Mark, is the darn name, carp. Most people don't want to eat carp. So it's being marketed. If you see it as silverfin, that's what it is. It's Asian carp. She called it Kentucky Lake Grouper is what she called it, which was kind of funny, but it is delightful. So don't be scared of it. It's a good fish. It's a good, nice, soft, sweet kind of flavor to it. Very good.
Jeffries calls them Grand Lake Greenies when he has largemouth fries for all the fishermen he comes over. He just catches them, serves it a delightful caper sauce.
No, that's not true. Jeez, man. Hey, obviously no ICAST this year, Mark. From your perspective, being involved and having been involved with Strike King for a number of years, is there anything that you can talk about that Strike King's going to be coming out with that you personally worked on, or anything that you can share to the fans because there is no ICAST?
Well, I tell you what, I've gotten a hold of some of Strike King's new stuff, and I've played with it in my pond in my front yard. And those are the most pressured fish in the United States in my front yard between my son and I. I don't have any real big ones in there, Mark. I've got one particular female that's about a 4-pounder, and she's so dang hard. You can't hardly catch her on a wacky worm. And we've got a new bait, and it's a very cool bait. It's I'm trying to think of what the darn name of it is because I can see it in my mind. But anyway, I caught her on my first cast throwing that bait. I'll think of it in a minute.
Hard bait or soft bait?
It's hard bait. It's a hard bait, and it's a whole concept of a crankbait. What is that thing called?
It's not on their website yet, is it?
I didn't want to stump you, Mark.
It's called
I'm sorry.
The Hybrid Hunter is what it's called.
Okay.
And it is a crankbait that can be used like a square bill. It's got an unbelievable action to it. It moves a lot of water. It can be fished as a topwater. It can be fished as a jerkbait, and it's got this unbelievably loud rattle. That's coming new for this year. It's a bait that was has a following down in that Rayburn, East Toledo Bend.
Oh, that's weird looking. I just Googled it. It's weird looking.
It'll flat catch their butt. And this was Todd Castledine's. So you need to talk to Todd about that.
It's got that 90. It's not a 90 degree, but it's got one of those lips that has the stair step on it. You know what I mean?
It's a bad duck. Is all I can tell you, Panrack. You better have a couple of those on the next event you go to.
I ain't giving anything away. I mean, I Googled it and looked at the images of it.
It's a bad duck is all I can tell you. It's a really
Fishing
cool bait.
The hybrid hunter.
But if a guy wants to think about things differently, you can do a lot of cool things with that bait. We've got a new Strike King jerkbait, a 100 series jerkbait. It's a very small, dainty little jerkbait that's going to be good in the fall. Beautiful action, flashes, moves. We also have a 1.5 hard knock with an ultra loud rattle in it for muddy water conditions. And that's the 3 baits that I've gotten to play with here in the last little bit. We've got more coming. So I think you're going to see some really neat things here soon to talk about on the new products things.
This Hybrid Hunter looks like the whopper plopper of crankbaits. Like it sits there for a couple years and people are like, this thing doesn't, no. And then it's probably one of those ones that's going to be a catcher. It's got an odd look to it.
It does. It's really weird looking, and you're going to pick it up and throw it like a crankbait and catch some fish with it. But you get to playing and doing some different things with it. I had a fish in my pond, about a 2.5 pounder, come from about 15 feet away to get it when I started snatching that thing around, and it was a vicious bite. One of the most vicious bites that I've had in a very long time. And if I can make those pond fish of mine that have seen every make, model, lure in the world do that, I'm in control. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we call that aquatic violence is what we call that.
I'm intrigued, especially if Castledine has a hand in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
All right, man, couple more questions, and then we'll let you go, Mark.
Let's glue some feathers on the top of it.
Oh,
It would
very
be so
funny,
much
Matt.
better.
Jeez. I'm trying to remember what that guy's name was. I think his name was Larry Mann. I could be wrong, though, but I know he's passed away. Ken in Michigan wants to know, what do you do when you're faced with a post-spawn cold front?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do in a post-spawn cold front situation is I'm going to turn my trolling motor, my motor guide, I'm going to turn it way down, and I'm going to go into turtle mode. I'm going to slow way down, and I'm going to start fishing very much like a Florida cold front. Michigan in the natural lakes and Florida fish a lot alike. One of the things I do when I get to Florida is when I make a cast with a Texas rig or a stick worm or an ocho or something like that, I throw it and let it hit the bottom, and I don't move it for 15 seconds every cast. And I just slow way, way, way down in those lakes. When you've got those smallmouth at St. Clair and all those big giant smallmouth you have up north, on a cold front, you generally get some wind behind it a lot of times, and you get that clear water. It fires them up. They act crazy. So, but for largemouth fishing, we'll base that question on I slow way, way down.
All right, fall tournament's coming up, man. Do you think that we can possibly see an event that might be one exclusively focusing on top water?
It could happen, Mark. It could very well happen. We'd have to have a little luck with some weather.
Yeah.
The Santee deal could, because if it got good enough that you could get 5 of those giant Santee bites a day, I mean, you could catch 25 to 35 in a day's time in the fall and blow the thing wide open. It certainly could happen. The Chickamauga tournament could be heavily dependent on top water. So it could happen for us on the Elite Series. That's true.
If you could only fish one type of topwater across the country this fall, buzzbait, popper, walking bait, any of those, which one are you tying on as a whole?
It'd be a sexy dog. It'd be a sexy dog.
Bait. Okay.
I'd have big walking bait. Yeah.
Not a buzzbait.
Matt, there are 2 chinks in my armor as a bass fisherman, and one is a buzzbait. I am the worst buzzbait fisherman known to man because I'm so excited. I take it away from them. I've tied braid on it. I've used a limber noodle rod. I don't look when I throw a buzzbait. I turn my head, let them eat it, and pull me down. I miss a high percentage of fish on buzzbait. Have done that since I was a child. The other thing is punching a heavyweight like a 1.5 ounce, 2 ounce. My elbows are shot, and I just can't hardly do it. So unless they're smoking it and killing it, a buzzbait's one of the last things I go to. But doggone, you can catch some darn big fish on a buzzbait.
Your kryptonite. When was the last time you chunked a buzzbait for a morning in an Elite Series event?
I caught some good fish on a buzzbait in a Wheeler tournament several years ago. And I probably haven't thrown one since, to be
So like
honest
all
with you.
those mornings, spawn, post spawn, all that on the Elite Series where they're fishing it, you could remember one day where you were like, I'm on the buzzbait.
Wow.
Yep.
Man,
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of guys just start off with a buzzbait just on principle. Don't you, Mark?
Yeah.
It's just always on their deck for like April, May, June. That's interesting. Because we had Andy Montgomery on who was like, yeah, well, I've only caught 10 fish on a hollow-bodied frog my entire life.
Exactly.
We were like, what? It's just weird how you guys have little niche lures that just never take off, and it's like other people's bread and butter.
That's another one. I mean, that one is really hard. I've caught some giant fish on buzzbaits everywhere I've gone, but it is just one that my hookup and land ratio is not good.
Aren't you guys on fork in October?
Yeah, I'll probably have to chunk one around when I go there. It's in November, actually, the first week of November.
Yeah. That could be a big time, obviously depending on the weather, but that could be a big time topwater deal.
Yes, it very well could be.
And a whole season could be.
Could be. I mean, it's crazy. Some guys have only fished 2 days, Mark. 2. That's it.
The whole season.
The whole season. Isn't that bizarre? It's going to be June.
Well,
Jeez.
I've fished 2 tournaments and I've got to fish 4 days. So I have not done well this year like I did last year.
Yeah.
So, I'm chomping at the bit ready to get out there and do a little
you
bit.
started off with the with that Florida deal last year with the 9-10 pound fish.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that.
Yeah. All right, Mark, man, as always, thank you so much for taking time out. You're always a great guest on BTL. And, man, we'd like to get you on after this madness continues, maybe in December or at the end of November.
Hey, call me anytime. I appreciate what you do, keeping the fans posted on what's going on in our world, and keep stirring it up, guys. It's always a lot of fun to be with you. And Matt, you take care of Mark there. He's your elder. You be sweet to him from now on. Okay?
I know he's stuck in his ways.
Hey man, I'm old school, Mark.
Like
you know how it is.
You try to have a conversation, he just says the same thing louder and angrier. The new shirt, the new BTL shirt, just says louder and angrier.
Perfect.
All right, Mark, good luck to you, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. I look forward to getting back out there and catching a few.
All right, there you have it. Mark Menendez. Good stuff, man.
I've never asked you, what's your lure that you never... I mean, like I said, you have been fishing for 30 years. You do fish a lot. You have been in the boat with a lot of guys and fished a lot of tournaments. It's not like you're a rookie. What's one technique lure, like mine was the swim jig. Andy Montgomery's is the hollow body frog. Mark Menendez is the buzzbait. What's something that you just never got on board with? And
I never really, and everybody uses this, but I never really had a lot of confidence in it, and it's really stupid, is the Cinco. It was just too slow. And everybody says, well, you got to fish a Carolina rig slow. Dude, the way I fish a Carolina rig, it's like power Carolina rigging. I'm throwing it out there. I know what piece of structure that I want to drag that thing across. If I don't get bit, boom, I'm moving. But with that Cinco, I just never had a whole lot of confidence in it. And I just, I got him in the boat.
But you love throwing a floating worm. That's one of your go-tos.
Yeah, but that's
you love throwing a fluke.
That's only a certain time of the year. I just have not caught them on a Cinco.
That's ironic because that is 100% what I was going to say.
I know.
And here's the other one that took me. So here's one that I was really late to the show with. The biffle bug.
Oh, I love that.
I got smoked on the biffle bug out of the back of my boat. I remember there's a guy that had a little club tournament out on, and I gotten, on Grand, everyone was saying, oh, you're just throwing a biffle bug on the pea gravel points and stuff. And it was like when it was kind of tough out there, and it was right after, before the zebra mussels and stuff. And it's like everyone's coming in, we're catching 20, 30. And I'm like, well, how the hell are you covering all this water? Throwing the biffle bug, biffle bug, biffle bug. And I went out to Thunderbird, and I was this guy, one of my friends. He had a tournament out there. I said, listen, we're gonna get like 2 to 3 bites today. I said, I'm gonna show you the areas that they live in. You come back, you'll have 3 for like 13. You ain't gonna catch keepers. That's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
He's like, you throw a biffle bug out here? I'm like, have at it, bro. The dude caught like 7 behind me.
Wow.
On Thunderbird, keeper, like 2 to 3 pounders on the rock. I said, okay, I got to learn this thing. I remember the first time that it clicked, where I, chucked it out, I caught him. I was like, oh my God, this is how I've been getting my butt kicked for the last 2 or 3 years, is everybody on these swinging jig heads.
Yeah.
And now it's, like one of my go-tos. But it took me forever to get on that. I was super early in on the chatterbait bandwagon, like super early.
Me too.
Like I was fishing club tournaments in Illinois out of the back of the boat, where the guys up there are going, "What the hell is that? What is that? What are you throwing?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I got 2 of them. They were the Venoms when it first came out. I think they were called. Not even the actual chatterbait. So anything else?
Do you ever throw a Cinco? Seriously.
No, I mean, I'll have
Everybody throws a Cinco. I just have not done it.
No, because here's the deal. Like if I'm going to pitch it to the stump. If I'm doing it, I'm throwing a wacky worm with a little nail weight or a Nico rig or something. Just not a huge, not a huge Cinco guy.
Now, there's one bait that I have thrown for 30 years, dude. And I still throw it, and I don't think anybody uses it. Any idea what that is? It's a soft plastic. I got a ton of them in the boat. In fact, I tried
a lizard?
No, I tried them at Keystone this past weekend with no avail.
Ton of them in the boat.
Yeah.
No, what is it?
A chomper. A skirted grub.
Oh, yeah, you do like that.
Yeah.
You love the chomper on the chomper head. And
it catches fish.
You would have caught them on Keystone if you've been in the right areas after I learned how they caught them.
It's kind of a forgotten thing. I know some of the guys still throw them at Table
It's a
Rock
little brown jig is all it is.
It's all it is, except it's...
Sure, with a little bit better hookup ratio that you can throw in lighter line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a clear water deal, though, isn't it?
No, not really. I mean, you can catch them if they're, in 5-6 foot.
Yeah, you always have the chompers tied on.
Yeah.
The problem with the chompers is you get the wonky leg, the folded over leg in the pack, so you don't get the equal fluttering action that drives me nuts.
Sometimes.
And then if that bag is just a bit open, you got a garlic box. Like the entire compartment reeks like garlic.
It's bad.
Is Chomper still in business?
I think so.
You can go buy a pack of 5-inch skirted chompers.
I think so. I don't know. I mean, I'm so stocked up. I haven't bought any for a while. But definitely one of my favorite baits that very rarely, I think, gets used outside of maybe on Table Rock and maybe
guys use it as
beaver.
a trailer. They'll take the
skirt off.
And it's just a twin-tail grub.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's kind of pricey just for a twin-tail grub. Anyway, so great stuff there from Mark Menendez. All right, tomorrow we're going to have Scott Canterbury on and get his take on Eufaula, being an Alabama guy. Let's see what June is going to be like on Lake Eufaula. We'll see.
I guess we'll also know where the Classic is by then.
Well, we might already know. Somebody might. I
don't know if they've announced it yet or not.
I don't know. I was hoping.
Go watch them.
There is somebody on the instant feedback that is sending me a link about Mike Otten. So I'm going to check that out. I appreciate the feedback that Mike's doing well. It's been a very, very long time since I've seen Mike, and I'm glad to hear he's doing well. Jay said, wow, he won his first Derby in Indiana on a chomper. That's good.
Wow.
That's good, man. I love those things. Man, garlic, though. Woo! You are smelling some garlic with those things. Anything else, Matthew?
No, I think that's
YouTube
about
working good today?
Yeah, YouTube was working good. A lot of good comments on there. Like I said, either tomorrow or sometime next week, we'll give away one of the new fitted Richardson reactive, like outdoor weather fitted hats, new on the Big Bite site.
Yeah.
They kind of went nature. Like there's Douglas firs.
That's cool looking.
The Big Bite logo. That's an aggressive logo, Mark.
I like it.
That's usually an aggressive logo. They went kind of like the Great White North with this kind of more natural muted stuff. So
yeah,
check it out if you're a fan of Big Bite.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. All right, Scott Canterbury tomorrow. People, please do not forget to enter the Apex Games over on BassZone.com. We're going to cut that off at midnight on Sunday, and then we're going to select a winner. And it's scheduled, I think, for June 2nd, but we're kind of flexible on that. So we're going to evaluate all the entries and then make sure that everybody has the technology necessary to have a successful Apex Bass Games, and we're going to give away a ton of stuff. So do that, review us, subscribe to us on YouTube, and obviously be safe out there. All right, that's it. We're out of here.